Hello, good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of The Poetry of Painting. And this week I have a new guest poet, the amazing Angela, who writes under the name of Psalm, and joining us all the way from Australia tonight. So let me bring Angela on the screen. Hi, Angela, how are you?
I'm great. And yourself, Fiona?
Good, yes, I'm not bad at all, thank you. Having now recovered from a bit of a horrendous journey getting back this evening, but never mind. We are here and we are now calm and peaceful and excited, ready to do the show. So, a big welcome to you to the show. I hope you're really going to enjoy it. I'm so looking forward to hearing you read your poem for us.
Thank you.
And yeah, it's going to be really good. I've been following your work on Instagram. So, by the way, after the show, put your links in under the show for your Instagram and anything else you want to put in so that people will be able to find you and read some more of your wonderful poetry as well. So don't be shy about doing that. Please do.
No.
Any links that you want to include there, be
hmm
brilliant. So I'll tell you what, first of all, maybe you could tell us a little bit about how you came to poetry and what drew you to poetry before you read the poem for us.
Yeah, poetry has been a huge part of my life, even though I was missing from it for such a long time. I was a very introvert child, and what my teacher had a wonderful teacher in primary school and I used to have a lot of bullying against me, and she
Mm.
said, "Oh, start writing journals." So I was a massive journal writer, and in that grew the poetry to try and sort of work my way through my emotions. And up until about 19 years old, I was, writing quite a lot. And then, unfortunately, uh, I had someone who was a mentor to me say to me that I would never be good enough, that my work lack a lot of things. And I took that to heart, and I
Mm.
stopped writing for a long time publicly.
Oh, gosh.
Public. So I didn't allow myself to put anything online or anything like that. So, um, but then COVID happened, and then I was in that stage again where I needed to get my emotions out.
Mm.
And my younger sister, who's a bookstagrammer on Instagram, said, "I think you should join Instagram and start posting your poetry. I've got all these. I know all these authors who will introduce you to the poetry community." And so, and there it was. I began in 2020 writing again, and I haven't stopped.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Mm,
Well, that's very good news for the rest of us because then we get to read your poetry and
thank
tonight
you.
hear some poetry as well. So,
hmm
oh, Chris is with us. Hi, Fiona. Lovely to be with you both. Had a few challenges logging in. Well, you're here now, Chris. So thanks ever so much, and thanks everyone else who's watching, whether it's live or replay. Great to have you along. Please do make comments and ask questions. So, before we hear a bit more of your story and all the things that you've been doing, Angela, because I know you've been involved with lots of poetry stuff as well. So,
hmm
shall we actually hear some poetry? So, the painting that Angela has very kindly done me the honour of writing about tonight is called Heavy Skies Over the Estuary, and I'll add it to the screen so it's a bit larger for you to see. So this one is actually, I think I said to you it was 2 foot by 3 foot, which I think it is,
hmm
but I'm not 100% sure right now. When I look at it, it doesn't look quite the right proportions, so it might be slightly different. But anyway, it's oils on canvas, and it's a one that I did a few years ago, and this is done with brushes, whereas I normally work with painting knives now, and I really love the way that I can move the paint around with them. But this gives a whole different feel with the brushes. It was trying to get that feeling of the the rain, the rain coming down from the clouds in the distance, the atmosphere, a bit of light coming through, lighting up a little bit through that little patch of blue sky, and just those lovely wild empty places that I love to go and just chill out and be in nature and relax and take a deep breath and fresh clean air. And so that's the painting really. And so I don't know, do you want to talk about what it said to you first, or read your poem first, Angela?
I guess I'll read the poem and then explain as to why I wrote the words that I did.
Yeah.
But this would I know that you gave me a few of them, and this one actually spoke to me straight away. And I named it what you named your painting. So here we go. Tantamount these skies, mist in the mortal death, to bring life as it pours, a petricle of existence. Bring life even in resistance, from the storms of sacrifice seasons where waters touch the heavens, where the heavens touch the sea, translucent emotions with ashen pearly need, a polarizing paradise where life begins and ends, a silver lining will arise.
Beautiful.
And
beautiful.
Yeah, it's the same thing. What you were trying to say is that there's dark clouds and it's raining, but because of the light that you've actually put in this painting, that's where the silver lining. Like it's only everything. This darkness shall pass is what exactly was the first thing that came to my mind. Everything shall pass, and so that's why I wrote it in the way you did. Like there is darkness, but there's like there's happiness ahead, and the word estuary is also where water meets the sea, and so it's almost another metaphor for again, all things shall pass, because you move on to another body of water, another part of life. So thank you, Chris.
Yes, thank you, Chris. Lovely. So that was, yes, I mean, it just, as you say, it's a, you've got the clouds and the rain, but if we didn't have clouds and rain, we'd be in a real mess, obviously. We need the rain, and having that variety of weather as well is good. If it was just always all clear blue skies, I think we'd miss having clouds, and certainly as an artist, I'd miss having clouds because they give some wonderful subject matter, and you appreciate the beautiful days more when you've had some days that are wet and dismal, really, don't you? So, yeah, we need the variety.
Absolutely, and it's also the whole idea of life. Life, you don't appreciate the things, the good things. That's until you have the bad times, like and vice versa. So it's with all things, you need a balance. And I just when I saw the rain, I just sort of petrichor that smell of grass and water in the air.
Yeah.
There's nothing like it. And that's why I had to use that word. It's just, it's my favorite smell.
It's a good one. It very much is. Yeah.
And it is actually, I want to say something. It actually reminds me, just the way you've done the lighting and the way you've done the clouds. It actually has a very William Turner-esque thing about it, which is he's one of my favorite, and I've seen something similar to this, the way you've done it, and I love it. And that's probably part of the reason I actually was really attracted to this as well. So,
wow. Well, I shall take that as a great compliment. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, it was good fun to paint, and yeah, maybe I'll do some more in that sort of style sometime. But I'm just really enjoying doing the painting knives at the moment, which are just a whole different way of working. Apart from when I do portraits, and doing the portraits, I use brushes, because if people are commissioning a portrait, they want it to look like that person or that animal, or not, I quite like the animals that I've done with a knife, but they've got lots of energy, but they're not specifically that one example of that animal, so I do still use my brushes for that. But Chris says, a great compliment indeed. I take it as one. Thank you. Yes. So tell us a bit more about yourself and your poetry world and what you've been doing. Have you got any events coming up and things as well?
I do regular Thursday lives or Thursday US. It's usually Friday here in the afternoon lives over at Instagram, and I run a page called the Dungeon Keep, and it's one I've created, and it's not what it seems like. It was a joke. A friend of mine on Instagram actually called me the Dungeon Mistress because of the darkness in my poetry, because my poetry is so dark. And he was being very facetious and naughty. And so I just went, I'm going to create a page called the Dungeon Keep because of what he had said. And it's basically more about sort of the topics that you wouldn't have under 18s involved. So I'll always, if someone wants to follow us, I'll always make sure that they are appropriate age. It's because it's sensual, potential, dark matter, and a lot of trigger warning stuff. And I'm currently writing my first. I've written. It's just with the editor now. My first poetry book.
Yay!
So no date as yet. She just sent me a whole 300 something pages, and she said, "Do you think this is a bit too much for one book?" It could be 2 books, so we don't know. We'll see. She just went, she scored all the poems. She went through it, and she said and she scored. I think the lowest was 5, and then up to 10 as fantastic. Keep it.
Wow.
And I just said, we'll keep whatever is from 8 to 10, and then from that she'll edit now. Instead of editing every single piece. And that's it for me at the moment. I'm just starting to do a Facebook page for me because I was so on, highly, on Instagram, but I think it's a different beast, Facebook and tree.
Yes.
So I'm trying to do that now. Yeah.
Well, once you've got it ready, don't forget to put the links in as well, so that people can check out and see what you're doing on there as well. And the imagery that you put with your poetry on Instagram at the moment, some wonderful images. Are they ones that you just find online, or do you have somebody particular do them for you? Or
no, they're Pinterest. Most of them are all Pinterest. But there are a few where I've got friends who are graphic artists, and they'll say, "Oh, what do you think of this one?" And I said, "It's fantastic. Do you want to use it in your next piece?" And I went, "I'll hold it if you don't mind, and I'll credit you when I do it." So there's, but most of it's basically Pinterest. And at the moment, I'm going in a type of aesthetic. So I'll do 3 where there's like a couple image, and then at 3 with just a girl image, and then that's the aesthetic I'm going. I'll go black and white color, black and white color.
Right.
So I've got a type of aesthetic at the moment. But I love it. People go, "Where do you find that?" I just went dark. I just said, "I'm just typing dark aesthetic woman." And
Wow. Well, there's some wonderful images that you're putting on, and they really go with your poetry so well as well. Just the whole atmosphere. You see the image and it sets the atmosphere, and then you read the poem and it just builds on it as well. So brilliant. Absolutely
it's really important for me that the words, the image is correct and the heading is correct. 2 of the major things. Often I'll start off with the heading before I even write anything. And then I'll have an image and I'll say, I need to write to this image. But it just depends on how it goes. So.
And how, when you actually start writing a poem, obviously, as you've just said, it could be triggered by an image or a heading, and I think sometimes you use prompts from somebody as well. But so when you've got that idea, that image, that prompt, how do you then start to write the actual poem?
In silence. Poetry with stories I have, because I also write. I've been writing stories for some time. I've just not published any. I have to have music, but in poetry it has to be silence.
Right.
Which is why I used to write at 2 o'clock in the morning, or now there's no one at home during the day because I'm not working. So yeah, it has to be silence, and I have to take the emotions that I'm feeling and move them into words. That's how it's always been with me. I have to be in the state of mind. What music inspired? I just saw Chris's. What music inspires you? I love all types of music. My guilty pleasure is country music. I love opera, and I can go from one extreme to another, and I love my death metal. So, because I've been an old goth chick. Yeah, it can be anything. I was watching a movie once, and there was a song in that movie, and I just went, "Oh, whose song's that?" I just had to write to that song.
And so, does the music, in a way, dictate or influence, rather, maybe the story that you're developing? Is it,
Absolutely.
the whole atmosphere of the music, creating the story almost?
Yeah, I choose not to know what. I choose not to read the lyrics. It's the sensation of the feeling that I'm getting with the music. It may trigger a memory, an event, and so I'll start writing about that event in an abstract way. I try to use. A lot of people go, "Oh, you've always got these massive words in your poetry." And I need a thesaurus or a dictionary by me to actually understand each of these words. But the beauty of your writing is that I understand it, even if I don't know that word. And so I can't. That's how I think in big words. Because as a child, I used to play with dictionaries. It was a game to me, trying to find another word that meant that word, and then it's just how it is. And it grew into an addiction as I got older. Yeah. But music is really important with me. I find even when I do lives and I'm reading people's poetry, a song will pop up.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. And I've had to actually sort of say, this isn't my song that I'm singing, or I'll say a line from a song, because they can actually stop your life from going saved because it's a copyright issue. So that's why I know that music's a huge part and influence in my writing as well. So
yeah. So do you write on a computer or on paper or in your head to start with first? Oh, Chris says, such is the power of melody. Absolutely. I think music is so evocative, and yeah. But, so sorry, yes, computer or paper or?
When I'm away from home, on paper, but when I'm at home, on computer. But I type everything out. I won't just edit myself straight away. I'll just write exactly how I'm feeling and what exactly I want to portray. And then I'll let it go for a couple of hours. And that's why I tend to write about maybe between 3 to 6 poems, because I do that. I let it go as soon as I write it, and then get onto something else that inspires me, and I'll write about that too. And then I'll go back and edit it, and then when I'm editing it, I'll say to the whole house, which is my husband and my son, listen to this and tell me what you think.
Excellent.
Yeah, and they'll give me feedback. But generally they're like, yeah, that's good. It's like, okay. But you want someone to give you more than that's good. Because I'm my own worst critic. I think as artists, I think we are. Yeah.
And so would you take maybe a few days over that process of revisiting it, or would it sometimes be, you see it maybe months later and think, actually, I'd like to change something in that? Is it an ongoing process, or do you say, no, that's it, I'm done with that one?
No, it will take a few days over that process. I can't sit on things. That's just how I am. And when I edit, it'll be when I like a lot of the stuff after 12 months. So what I do is my process is I'll always have the year before's poems, but everything else gets archived. And when I'm in that process, I'll take whatever I've archived down and then I'll go through and edit. Because there are sometimes things, for instance, where they're like on Instagram, they have these prompts where there's only 11 words. And what I do is the collection of those 11-word poems, I make them into one. Or 50 words, and I'll make them into what now take like for instance in my book I think I've taken about 5 or 6 and I've mashed them and made it into one poem by adding other lines, editing. So that's when I start editing them and changing them, because what we were and what I am now, when I wrote them at that instance, some things don't need to be changed because it's pure and I was feeling that in that emotion. But sometimes you just go back and get, that's a bit too, it's too different to who I am now.
Right. Yeah.
And I want to see the growth. I've kept the original. I will never change that, but I'll always go and do it like version whatever, and make those changes. But once I've made that one change, I won't go back again. That's it. It stays as is. But like I said, it's like a chronological sort of your work.
Yes. So, yeah. A bit like me looking back at paintings that I did, going back over my art career, and you just look at some of the older ones and think, at the time I was fairly happy with that piece, which is why I've still got it, or I've still got a photo of it at least, didn't destroy it and paint over it or whatever. And now I look at it and I think, but that's so different from what I do now and where I am now with my art. And I think with poetry, it's probably the same, that we're always evolving and we're always bringing new experiences to our art, whether that's poetry, painting, performance art, whatever. It's all informed by your experiences, which is why I think, in the book that I did, and it's still available for sale, by the way, everybody, Helping Alzheimer's Research UK. It was so fascinating to see the 2 different takes on one painting by these 2 different poets, because we all bring our own experiences to it, and that's the same with developing our work over time. And so I can understand, as you say, you go back and you think, okay, that's what I did then, and I'm not going to start repainting it because that's what it was then, but now I would do it, if I maybe take that idea to do again, it wouldn't be, it's not trying to do the same painting, but I would do it rather differently now because, I've moved on and hopefully improved. I like to think so, but, nobody ever likes everything. So some people might prefer my older style and some my newer style, but yeah, so it's I can quite understand why you say no, leave that one as it is and do another, an edited version of it. Yeah. So interesting indeed. So you've got some of the other photographs that I sent you. Are you inclined to write about those as well, of my other paintings?
I did, I think, for one of the other ones. So,
Yeah.
did you want me to?
Oh, I think we ought to save that for another show.
We can do
We
that
don't
in
want
another
to,
show. But yeah,
yeah,
I only
we don't want to
find
spoil everybody.
but I love one of the other ones. Actually, it's those two, the ones I really fell in love with. I love, yeah, but I love your style of painting. It actually reminds me that the painting. My sister did the painting for her year 12 for one of her art classes, and I said to her, I want to keep that. She let me
Yeah.
keep it, and I framed it, and it's in her bedroom. And I always say to her,
Oh,
she needs to go
lovely.
back to her painting because she's terrible. She's talented, and she never did anything with her art, and she can sing.
Mm.
Which is, I'm like, can you write? I said, what else? Triple threat. But yeah, the youngest, and she's amazing. She's got the kids now. She hasn't had too much time to do painting, but so you need to go back and start doing it again because she was, yeah, her stuff is really good. But I'm going to
Yeah.
try and push her to do that. I think she said to me she's gone back and started doing some of those paintings. But yeah, but I definitely will go and get that book that you mentioned because I would really like to. It's a good course, Alzheimer's. So
Yeah, it
yeah,
is. Yeah. It's very close to my heart, with relatives and things.
yes,
So
same.
yes, yeah. But I was just going to say something then. Obviously, mention of Alzheimer's has sent it away. What was I going to? Yeah, I was going to ask. Do you do any other artistic pursuits as well, or you mainly focused on the writing, and that's what you want to concentrate on?
Yeah, look, I've started to write a novella that I need to finish. I start a lot of stories and I don't end up finishing them. And a friend of mine who has moved, so he says poetry is his break, and he
Mm-hmm.
writes some really. The latest one he did was about a serial killer who loves pancakes, and it's one of the most funniest books. It's fantastic. He's actually from Birmingham.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so Daniel White. So he's also on Facebook. DLY. He said you need to start concentrating on the one book. Don't leave all the other stuff. You need to just get one down. And he goes, you know how many back books I've got ideas. There's a lot.
Yeah.
Write those ideas down, list them, but just don't write about them. And
Yeah.
so yeah, so that's what I'm doing. So it's stories and poetry.
Excellent. Well, we're approaching the end of our time. So I say thanks to everybody who's been watching. Been great, and thanks for making comments. And if you've got any other questions or comments, put them in after the show if you don't manage to beforehand, and we'll get back to you on them as well. And I say, please put your links, Angela, into the comments afterwards, on Facebook rather than on here, because otherwise they don't show up in Facebook, so that people can find more of your wonderful poetry. So I hope you've really enjoyed it and that you will come back on the show again.
Yes, absolutely. What a pleasure to have actually met you and be part of this. I'll definitely be back.
And likewise, a wonderful pleasure meeting you. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Oh, Chris says, great show. Thank you, Chris. And take care, everybody. We'll be back next week with another edition of the Poetry of Painting. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Angela. Been brilliant. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.